This is video number 2 for our video notes on multiplying and dividing rational expressions. So we're going to look at multiplying first. You can multiply rational expressions the same way you multiply fractions. So you factor the numerator and denominator, you divide out the common factors, you multiply the numerators together, and then you make sure that there are no more common factors that you missed. So let's look at letter A. So we have the top half. I'm just going to multiply that out first. So 3 times 10 is 30. X to the 5th, x to the 3rd is x to the 8th. Y to the 3rd, y to the 4th is y to the 7th. And then on the bottom, I have 2 times 9 is 18. X, 3 and 2 make 5. And y, 7 and 5 is 12. And then I can go ahead and simplify. Divide the top by 6, and I get 5. Divide the bottom by 6, and I get 3. And then if I bring x to the 5th to the top is x to the negative 5, so that's x to the 3rd. And then if I bring y 7 down is y negative 7, 12 minus 7 is 5 on the bottom. And it says assume that all expressions are defined, so I'm not really going to worry about whether x or y is 0. So this is my final answer. In part B, keep in mind that if it has subtraction, they have to be in parentheses. X plus 5 is in parentheses, x squared minus 9 is in parentheses, and then 4x plus 20. They're all in parentheses. So I'm going to go ahead and factor all of the numerators and all the denominators. And with multiplication, we just go across. So I have x minus 3, x plus 5 on the top, over, and then if I look at 4x plus 20, I can divide 4 by 4 and 20 by 4. So I have 4, and then if I divide 4x by 4, I just get x, and I divide 20 by 4, I get plus 5. Then I'm going to look at x squared minus 9, which is really x squared minus 3 squared, because 3 squared is 9. So I have the difference of squares. So then we have x plus 3 and x minus 3. So that goes on the bottom. So x plus 3, x minus 3 is really x squared minus 9. So I factored this. Now I can cancel. So x minus 3's cancel, x plus 5's cancel. On the top I have a 1. On the bottom I have a 4 times x plus 3. And that's my simplified answer. Looking at example C, I'm just going to go ahead and multiply, because it's multiplication, and multiply across the top. So I have x times x to the 7th is x to the 8th times 20. And on the bottom I have 15 times 2, which is 30. And x times x to the 4th is x to the 5th. And then I can cancel out 10 from top and bottom, so I have 2 over 3. Bring the x to the 5th to the top is negative 5. And on the top I have x to the 3rd. For letter D, we're going to have to factor again. So let's just make that a little bit bigger. So if I look at 10x minus 40, they both have 10 in common. So factor out of 10 of 10x, I get x. Factor out 10 out of negative 40, I get negative 4. And then since it's multiplication, I have x plus 3 as well. And then on the bottom, x squared minus 6x plus 8, so that it becomes x times x is x squared. And I have multiplied together to get a positive 8, but they add to get a negative, so I know that they're both negative signs. What times what makes 8? Well, 4 times 2. Do 4 and 2 add up to negative 6? Yes. So we have 4 and 2. So negative 4 and negative 2 make negative 6. And negative 4 times negative 2 is a positive 8. And then I look at the next 5x plus 15. They both have 5 in common. So since it's multiplication, I'm going to throw the 5 times in the front. And then if I divide 5 out of 5x, I just get x. And 5 out of 15, I just get plus 3. And then I can cancel. So let's go ahead and cancel 5 out of the top, which gives me 2, and 5 out of the bottom, which gives me 1. And then I can cancel out x minus 4 and x plus 3, and then I'm just left with x minus 2 on the bottom. So my answer is 2 over x minus 2. Please note that on the bottom it's x minus 2, so I can't cancel out the 1s, or cancel out the 2's and get 1 because it would change the ratio. That was multiplication. Now let's go ahead and look at division. In division, same rules apply. The only difference is when we divide, we flip the second fraction, take the reciprocal, right? So if I have 5x to the 4th over 8x squared y squared times, and we take the reciprocal, 8y to the 5th over 15. And then we do the problem just like we did on the last page. So I have, let's multiply the numerator. So 5 times 8 is 40, x to the 4th, y to the 5th, over 8 times 15 is 120, x squared, y squared. And then I can go ahead and cancel. I can divide the top by 40 and the bottom by 40, and that gives me 1 on top, 3 on bottom. And x to the 4th divided by x squared is x squared on top. And y to the 5th divided by y squared is y to the 3rd on top. So my answer is x squared y cubed over 3. And since it says assume that all expressions are defined, I'm not going to define where x and y cannot be 0. In letter B, we're going to have to go ahead and factor, and we need to flip over our second fraction. So in the first one, I have x to the 4th minus 9x squared. I can factor out x squared from both. So if I take x squared out of x to the 4th, I end up with x squared. If I take out x squared and negative 9x squared, I get negative 9. And then that's all over. And on the bottom, I have x times x, and what multiplies to get 3 and adds to get 4? Well, 3 times 1, and then the middle is negative, so negative 3 and negative 1 make negative 4, times, and then we actually take the reciprocal, so x squared minus 16 would be on the top, and on the bottom would be x to the 4th 2x minus 8x squared. So let's take out an x squared from the top. When we flip it over, it'd be x squared. And then if we take out x squared from x to the 4th, we get x squared. Take out x squared from 2x cubed, and I get 2x. Take out x squared from negative 8x squared, and I get negative 8. And then let's continue to factor. So we have x squared times, and in our last page, we had x squared minus 3 squared, because 3 squared is 9, and that made x plus 3 and x minus 3, because that was a difference of squares, so this is x plus 3, x minus 3 on top, times, and x minus 16 is x squared minus 4 squared. So again, we have the difference of squares. That becomes x plus 4, x minus 4. So we're going to put that on top. All over. On the bottom we had x minus 3 and x minus 1. And then we have times x squared. I'm going to put the x squared in front just so it doesn't get lost. And then I need to factor x squared plus 2x equals 8. So that would be x times x. And then two things that multiply to get negative 8. So I know one is positive, one is negative. In the middle I have positive, so I know one of the numbers, the biggest number, is a positive. So 8 times 1 is 8. But if I take a positive 8 minus 1, I don't get 2. And then 4 times 2 is 8. If I take a positive 4 minus 2, I do get 2. And now I could just cancel. X squareds cancel. And then I have x minus 3's cancel. And x plus 4's cancel. And my answer is x plus 3 times x minus 4 all over x minus 1 times x minus 2. That would be my answer. And example C. Pull this up a little bit. Let's just look at C first. So C, we're going to go ahead and take x squared over 4 times, and we're going to take the reciprocal, 12y squared over x to the 4th y. So we have 12x squared y squared over 4x to the 4th y. So we divide 12 by 4 and I get 3. Divide 4 by 4 I get 1. And then x squared and x to the 4th, if I bring x squared I get x to the negative 2 on the bottom. So 4 and 2 make x squared on the bottom. And then I bring up y as y to the negative 1, and 2 minus 1 is y. So my answer is 3y over x squared. In example D, I'll leave a little room on the side here. On the top, I have 2x to the second minus 7x minus 4, and that is our a times c. So a times c, 2 times negative 4 equals negative 8. And then what times what makes negative 8? That adds up to negative 7. Well, we know that the factors have to be a positive and a negative because they multiply to get a negative 4. And we know the biggest number has to be a negative because our middle number here is negative. So positive 1 and negative 8 multiply to get negative 8. And then if we add them together, negative 8 plus 1 is negative 7. So we're going to have positive 1 over ax, which is 2x. And then negative 8 over ax, which is 2x. And in this example, I have my first factor as 2x plus 1. And then if I simplify the second factor, I divide by 2 and I get negative 4. Divide by 2, I get x. So that becomes x minus 4. All over, and then as we saw in the last one, x squared is really x squared minus 3 squared. So the bottom becomes x plus 3 and x minus 3 times, and then I have to take the reciprocal. So on the top, I have 8x squared minus 28x plus 12. And on the bottom I have 4x squared minus 1. We're going to leave our first fraction the same because it's already factored. And then we're going to look at our second fraction. In the numerator, we have 8, 28, and 12, which we can all divide them all by 4. So since this is multiplication, I'm going to put the 4 in front 4 times. And then we get 2x squared minus 7x plus 3. So I divided 8x squared by 4 and got 2x squared. Divide negative 28x by 4, I get negative 7. Divide 12 by 4, I get 3. So now I'm going to have to do AC. So a times c, well that's 2 times 3, which gives me 6. And if they have to multiply to get a positive, they're either positive, positive, or negative, negative. And my middle sets are both negative. So what two numbers that are negative multiply to get 6, but add to get 7? So negative 1 times negative 6 is a positive 6, and negative 1 minus 6 is negative 7 when we add. So divide that by ax. A is 2. And then my first factor is going to be 2x minus 1. And my second factor, I need to actually simplify. So divide the top by 2 and I get negative 3. Divide the bottom by 2, I get x. So then my second factor will be x minus 3. And then I can look at the denominator. 4x squared minus 1 is really 2x squared, because 2 times 2 is 4x times x is x squared, minus 1 squared. So that's the difference of squares. So I have 2x plus 1 and 2x minus 1. And now we can cancel. So we have 2x plus 1 cancels with 2x plus 1. and 2x minus 1 and 2x minus 1, and x minus 3 and x minus 3, and we're left with 4 times x minus 4 over x plus 3, and we're just going to leave it factored. So this ends part 2 of our video notes, so go ahead and look at part 3.